They made noises in your bedroom, the boy whispered. And just like that, breakfast stopped. Daniel's hand froze midair, the coffee mug trembling just inches from his lips. His eyes didn't blink. He didn't breathe. The boy, Jamal, leaned back in his chair, like he hadn't just set fire to the room with 6 quiet words. Across the kitchen island, Heather laughed at something Brad, their neighbor, had just said. She didn't notice. Or maybe she didn't care. Daniel turned, slowly. "What did you say, buddy?" he asked, voice low, strained. Jamal looked at him, serious. "There were noises, like bumping and breathing. I got up to go pee. I heard them in your room." He glanced at Heather, then back to his eggs. "She said you were out late working." Daniel was out late, closing a client deal, stuck in traffic, exhausted. He didn't come home until almost 2 a.m., but the bedroom door had been locked. The bed had been made. Heather turned now, smiling like everything was fine. "Everything okay?" Daniel nodded, mechanical. "Yeah, just tired." But he wasn't. Not anymore. His stomach twisted. His heart thudded like a warning drum. Jamal had no reason to lie. And that look in his eyes, calm, certain, almost protective, it scared Daniel more than anything. Daniel couldn't move. He just sat there, stunned, his hands still frozen around the coffee mug like it might anchor him to reality. The warmth from it didn't register. His ears were ringing, not loud, but high and hollow, like the world had been muted except for Jamal's voice, echoing over and over again in his head. Across the room, Heather laughed. Too light, too easy. Brad's hand rested on her lower back. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't long. But now, Daniel saw it differently. Not friendly. Familiar. Intimate. Like a gesture that had been rehearsed behind closed doors. It was then that Daniel started connecting the dots, slowly, cautiously, like stepping onto thin ice. The locked bedroom door last night. The sheets perfectly smoothed. Not a wrinkle. Heather already out of bed and showered when he got home. Her wine glass in the sink. Her phone glowing face down on the nightstand. At the time, he was too tired to question it. Now, it all felt staged. Jamal had no reason to lie. If anything, the kid rarely spoke unless something mattered. And the way he said it, so direct, so simple. "They made noises in your bedroom," like he didn't even know he was lighting a fuse. "Can I go play?" Jamal asked quietly. Daniel nodded, still numb. As the boy walked out of the room, he cast one glance back at Heather. Just one. But it said everything, cautious, calculating, protective. Heather slid into the chair beside Daniel. Her perfume hit him like a memory he didn't want anymore. "You okay?" she asked, her voice soft, but off somehow. Daniel's voice came out like gravel. "Did Brad stop by last night?" There was a hitch in her breath. Barely visible, but it was there. "Yeah, he brought over some wine. We had a glass, then he left. You were gone forever." He turned to her, eyes locked. Did he come into the bedroom? That smile she wore, that confident, polished smile. It hesitated. What? No, why would you even ask that? Outside, Brad waved cheerfully through the window like a harmless neighbor. Daniel stared through him. Because Jamal didn't say they went into the bedroom. He said the noises came from it. Daniel didn't eat his breakfast. He just stared at the plate, watching the eggs go cold, his mind racing through shadows. The kitchen felt smaller now. Brighter, somehow, like the sun had come out just to mock him. Every sound in the room was too sharp. The hum of the fridge, Heather's fork scraping porcelain, the distant birds outside pretending everything was normal. He glanced at the stairs. Jamal was up there now, probably in his room, pretending to play, pretending not to be scared of what he just said. Daniel stood suddenly, his chair sliding back with a scrape. Heather jumped. "Where are you going?" she asked, casual but alert. "Upstairs," he said. "Gonna check on Jamal." She tilted her head. "He's fine. Let him play." "I will," Daniel replied, already walking. I just want to talk to him. He climbed the stairs slowly, trying not to look like a man whose world might be falling apart. At the top, he knocked once before opening the door. Jamal sat cross-legged on the floor with his action figures, but didn't look surprised to see him. Daniel closed the door behind him. Can I ask you something? Jamal nodded. You said you heard noises last night. In our room. The boy didn't blink. Yeah, I heard her laughing. Then, like, bumping, the bed moving, and her saying, don't stop. Then it got quiet again. Daniel's throat tightened. You sure it wasn't the TV? Jamal shook his head. It wasn't the TV. He said it the way only kids can, with that terrifying clarity that cuts through adult excuses. Daniel sat down slowly on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, trying to keep his breathing even. And then Jamal added something else. Something Daniel hadn't expected. She told me not to say anything. She said you'd get mad. Daniel looked up. The fuse was burning faster now. Daniel felt it. That deep, cold shift. Like something inside him had cracked and the air was leaking out. He stared at Jamal, who stared right back, unblinking. The kid wasn't scared. He was steady, honest. But beneath that calm, there was something heavier, like he'd carried this kind of secret before. She told you not to say anything? Daniel asked. Jamal nodded. Last night, when she tucked me in, she said it was just noises, not to worry, and that you wouldn't understand. Daniel rubbed his jaw, his hands trembling now. He wanted to scream, throw something, but not in front of Jamal. Not now. He'd already seen too much. Okay, Daniel said, swallowing hard. Thanks for telling me. Jamal looked down at the toy in his hand, then back up. Are you mad at her? Daniel didn't know how to answer that. He opened his mouth, then closed it. The truth was, he didn't even feel mad. Not yet. What he felt was something worse. Disbelief sinking into knowing. The kind of slow horror that settles in your bones. I'm not mad at you, he said. You did the right thing. Jamal nodded again, then picked up another action figure and quietly resumed his game. Daniel stood and walked to the window, just needing to look at something that didn't lie to him. That's when he saw it, Brad's car, still parked in the driveway across the street. Engine off, no movement. Daniel squinted. The car hadn't left. Brad had waved from the window like he was leaving, but he never did. Daniel stepped closer. The neighbor was sitting in the driver's seat, not on the phone, not texting, just sitting there, watching the house, watching them. Daniel's pulse thudded in his ears. Brad wasn't on a call. He wasn't even pretending. He just sat there, one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting on his leg, staring up at the house like he was waiting for something, or someone. He wasn't even trying to hide it. Daniel backed away from the window. He moved fast down the stairs, not bothering to mask the weight in his footsteps this time. Heather was still in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, toast untouched, eyes flicking up the second she saw him. Everything okay? She asked, too smooth, too early with the concern. Daniel stopped in the middle of the room. Why did you tell Jamal not to say anything? Her face barely moved, but her eyes betrayed her. What are you talking about? He said you told him not to tell me what he heard. You tucked him in, then lied to him. I didn't. She started, but Daniel cut her off. Brad's outside, he said. Still in his car, still watching this house like he left something inside it. Heather stood up, fast now. Her chair nearly tipped. What are you accusing me of? You tell me, Daniel said, his voice low. Because if there's even a piece of truth in what Jamal said, then you didn't just lie to me. You used our bedroom, you used our home, while our son was upstairs. Heather's hands shook, not with fear, with fury. He's not your son, she snapped. Silence, heavy, crushing. Daniel stared at her like he didn't recognize her anymore. Say that again. Heather covered her mouth, as if trying to pull the words back in, but it was too late. They'd already been carved into the walls. Heather didn't speak. Couldn't. Her hand stayed over her mouth, like she was physically holding in regret. But the damage had landed. Daniel felt it settle in his chest like a punch with no sound. Sharp, breath-stealing, personal. She hadn't just crossed a line, she'd set fire to it. "He's not your son." The words echoed through him, not because they were true, but because she chose to say them. As a weapon, Daniel stepped closer, not to threaten her, just to look her in the face. "That boy trusts me," he said quietly. "He told me, not you, me, because he knows when something's wrong." Heather's arms dropped to her sides, limp. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered. "It just happened. I was lonely. You're always working. You never touch me. You come home tired and half asleep." "So you slept with Brad?" Daniel's voice cracked. "In our bed? While our kid was upstairs?" Heather's eyes flared. "You don't get to play victim when you checked out months ago!" Daniel laughed, short, bitter. "I checked out? I was trying to build something. You don't cheat because someone's tired, Heather. You cheat because you think you won't get caught." They stared at each other across the kitchen, the air thick with everything unsaid. Then, from the top of the stairs, a voice, small, quiet. "Are you guys fighting because of me?" They both turned. Jamal stood halfway down the stairs, clutching the railing, eyes wide, fragile. Daniel's heart broke a little right then. He stepped forward steady. "Nobody," he said. "We're fighting because someone made a really bad choice. But not you. Never you." Jamal nodded slowly, but Daniel could see it, the look in his eyes. He'd already been through enough in his short life. And now, this house, the one that was supposed to be safe, had betrayed him too. Daniel crouched as Jamal reached the bottom step, arms open but gentle, not assuming. The boy hesitated for a second, just one heartbeat of doubt, before walking into the hug. His small frame folded into Daniel's chest, and for a moment, Daniel stopped thinking about Heather, or Brad, or the bed, or the noises. It was just this, a boy who needed someone real. Heather stood frozen, watching. Her expression had crumbled. Not guilt, not yet, just shock that Jamal hadn't run to her. Daniel held the boy a little tighter. "You're not the reason this is happening, okay? Don't ever think that." Jamal's voice was muffled against his shirt. "She lied to me. She said you'd be mad if I told." "I'm not mad at you," Daniel said. "I'm proud of you. You told the truth. That matters." Heather turned, walking into the living room like she needed to escape her own skin. "What do you want me to say, Daniel? That I made a mistake? That I hate myself?" "Fine. I do." Daniel looked at her, still holding Jamal. "I don't want words. I want honesty. I was lonely," she said again, softer this time. "Brad was convenient. It happened once. That night. I knew you'd be late. I didn't think—" "No," Daniel cut in. "You did think. That's what hurts." A long pause. Then Jamal said something that gutted the air out of the room. "I've seen people do that before, when I lived with my other family. The man used to sneak in the room when the dad was gone." Daniel looked down at him. "You mean where you were before we adopted you?" Jamal nodded. "That's why I knew what the noises meant." Heather sank onto the couch like her legs had given out. Daniel closed his eyes, heart cracked wide. This boy didn't just witness betrayal, he recognized it, because it wasn't new. And now, he had walked into a house where the same thing lived, just with better wallpaper. The silence after Jamal spoke felt endless, not heavy, hollow, like the house itself had gone quiet out of shame. Heather sat with her head in her hands. Daniel couldn't even look at her. His mind was with the boy beside him, this kid who had lived through things no child should have words for. Daniel stood slowly, guiding Jamal toward the couch across from Heather. "Go get your backpack, buddy," he said gently. "We're gonna go for a drive." Jamal looked at him. "Where?" "Somewhere peaceful," Daniel replied. "Somewhere quiet." The boy nodded and ran upstairs, small feet thumping lightly. Heather finally looked up, mascara smudged, skin pale. "Where are you taking him?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He looked at her, Really looked. Past the hurt, past the lies, straight into the part of her that used to mean something sacred to him. "You didn't just cheat," he said. "You stole peace. From him. From this house. From me. You used the one place he felt safe and turned it into another secret." Heather started crying, but it was the kind of cry Daniel couldn't feel bad for. Not anymore. Not when he had a child upstairs packing escape like he'd done it before. "You knew what Jamal came from," Daniel said. "You knew the kinds of things he'd seen, and you did it anyway. In the same space he sleeps beneath." Heather stood. "Please, I'll talk to him. I'll fix it." "You can't fix this," Daniel said, calm now. "You can't unmake what he knows." Jamal came down with his backpack, zipped and ready, like he understood more than either of them ever gave him credit for. Daniel took his hand. "Let's go." As they stepped outside, Daniel glanced toward Brad's car. It was gone, finally. But that didn't matter anymore. Because whatever Brad took with him, Daniel was leaving something behind too. They drove in silence for a while, the road winding past parks and neighborhoods that felt unfamiliar in the morning light. Jamal sat in the passenger seat, legs swinging gently, his face turned toward the window but his eyes unfocused, like he was watching something only he could see. Daniel gripped the wheel tighter than he needed to. He didn't know where they were going. He just knew they couldn't stay in that house. Not today. Not right after that. "Are you mad at her?" Jamal asked finally. Daniel glanced at him. "Yeah," he said. "I am." The boy nodded like he understood that answer. "Are you gonna leave her?" Daniel didn't speak right away, not because he didn't know, but because saying it out loud made it real. "I don't think I can trust her anymore," he said. "And without trust, there's nothing left to build on." Jamal turned to him. "You still trust me, though?" Daniel's throat tightened. He looked over, met the boy's eyes. More than anyone. Jamal nodded once, then leaned back in his seat, calmer now, like that was all he needed to hear. They pulled into an empty park, trees swaying in the breeze, the sun climbing higher, but not too hot yet. A quiet spot, a clean one. Daniel turned off the engine, and they sat in the stillness for a minute before he said it. "I'm not going to let people lie to you anymore. Not in my house, not in your life." Jamal looked up at him. "Promise." "I promise." And in that moment, just that moment, Daniel wasn't thinking about betrayal, or the bedroom, or even Heather. He was thinking about this boy, this second chance. This truth between them that might be the first honest thing in years. Later that day, Daniel returned to the house, alone. Jamal was with a friend's family, one of the few people Daniel trusted. Quiet people, steady people. He didn't want Jamal anywhere near what was about to happen. The front door creaked when he pushed it open, like the house itself didn't want him back. Heather was in the kitchen, sitting in the same chair from that morning, the same toast still on the plate. Her eyes looked hollow. "I thought maybe you weren't coming back," she said without looking up. Daniel stepped inside, his voice low. "I'm not staying." That got her attention. She looked at him now, really looked. "Is it that simple?" "No," he said. "It's not simple at all, but it's necessary." Heather stood slowly. "You're going to walk away from everything we built? From this marriage? From me?" Daniel met her gaze. "You broke it, not me." She scoffed, a bitter edge to her voice. "You're being dramatic. People make mistakes." "No," Daniel said sharply. "People have accidents. You made choices. You lied. You warned a child not to tell the truth. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern." Heather opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "I'm not taking him from you," Daniel said, grabbing the small duffel he had left in the hallway. "But he's staying with me for now, until he feels safe again. If you want to be part of his life, you'll have to earn it back, just like I did." She whispered, "I don't think I can." Daniel paused in the doorway. "Then you'll know how it feels." And with that, he stepped outside. The door clicked shut behind him. Not slammed, just final. 3 weeks passed. No lawyers, no yelling, just space and silence. Heather texted twice. The first was long, emotional, filled with explanations. Daniel didn't respond. The second was just 5 words. "Can I see him soon?" He stared at that one for an hour before replying, "He's not ready." Jamal didn't ask about her much. He played more, smiled more. But at night, he sometimes hovered by Daniel's bedroom door, just standing there, silent. Daniel always opened it. Always let him in, no questions. Just quiet trust, building itself brick by brick. One night, Jamal finally spoke. "You think she loved him?" Daniel didn't pretend not to know who he meant. "I don't know," he said. "But I know she forgot what love's supposed to protect." Jamal nodded like that. Made perfect sense, like he'd already lived the answer before the question. By the 4th week, Daniel started looking at new places. Smaller, simpler, somewhere with a yard, maybe. Somewhere Jamal could finally stop looking over his shoulder. They visited one on a Saturday, a little yellow house with creaky floors and a tree out front begging for a tire swing. Jamal walked through it like he was studying something holy. After a while, he turned to Daniel. "Can this be ours?" Daniel crouched beside him. "If you want it to be." Jamal smiled. Small and real. "As long as it's just us." Daniel nodded. "Just us." And for the first time in years, he didn't feel broken. He felt clear. They moved in 2 weeks later. It wasn't flashy. The lawn needed work. The paint chipped in places. But it felt alive, honest. The kind of place where no one whispered lies behind closed doors. Daniel unpacked slowly, letting Jamal choose which room he wanted. The boy picked the one with the biggest window and the creakiest floor. "So I'll always hear if someone's coming," he said with a grin. Daniel didn't argue. He just nodded, heart aching and full at the same time. On their first night, they ate pizza on the living room floor, boxes still stacked around them, no plates. Just paper towels, soda cans, and laughter. Real belly-deep laughter. Something neither of them had felt in too long. Later, as Daniel tucked Jamal into bed, the boy looked up and said, "It's quiet here." Daniel smiled. "That's the point." Jamal hesitated. "Do you think she misses us?" Daniel thought for a moment, then answered carefully, "I think she misses what she lost. But missing something doesn't mean you deserve it back." Jamal seemed to understand. His eyes closed slowly, peacefully this time. "I like this house," he murmured. "I do too," Daniel whispered, "because this one starts with truth." He turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a long time, listening. No bumping, no breathing, no lies bleeding through walls. Just quiet. Just trust. Just them. And for the first time since everything fell apart, Daniel didn't feel like a man rebuilding. He felt like a man, finally building something worth keeping.